Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. We have Jeff Fenster with us. He's founder and CEO at Everbowl. We build stuff, super fuel. He's an author, he's a speaker, he has his podcast. And yeah, we're going to have fun today. Jeff is the accomplished man. Jeff is straight up from San Diego, California, in Oaxaca, Mexico. This podcast is brought to you by my AI cold outreach company. It's called Top Leads. If you want a bunch of meetings in your calendar, you let me know. Jeff, welcome to the pod. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays?
Thanks for having me, and appreciate the conversation across the border. And yeah, as you kind of alluded to, I run a bunch of companies. I'm a dad, 2 daughters, girl dad. I like to run companies, start companies, expand and grow and disrupt. I love speaking and helping other people. I have a show with entrepreneurial.com called the Jeff Fenster Show, where we reverse engineer success. Have a book, and I speak on stages. And I like to make friends and have fun every day.
Where did you get your drive?
You know, I think it's because I grew up I was always little. I was a late bloomer, and I was very competitive in sports. And so I had little dog syndrome my whole life as a child. So the only way I could compete was to outwork, out hustle, be tenacious, persevere. And I had to overcome the fact that all of my friends and competitors at my age were always bigger and stronger. And so it was more of the mindset of water, right? You can't stop water because it just never stops. So I was just keeping that mindset. The saying goes, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So I knew I could outwork them. And so that's just kind of how I succeeded in sports as a kid. And I think it translated to my adulthood.
And you started your first company quite early. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, started my first company after law school. Went to law school to be a sports agent and had a kid in law school. And so when I was 24, ultimately decided not to pursue law school or pursue sports agency, had a law degree and had to make some money. So I was selling payroll for a company called ADP, which is an international payroll and HR company. And through that process, was very successful selling the payroll, got into a disagreement with my boss over how soon I would get my next raise, and quit my job over $17,000 and started my first company out of my mom's kitchen called iChecks, with the idea that I could go and sell the product. And, I'd never wanted to be an entrepreneur. I didn't know the word, never thought about it. It was really just out of spite. And so started my first company at 24 and I sold it at 28.
Congrats on that. Late congrats. I guess also was somewhat freak out of having a children and not knowing if you're gonna have cash to feed that children. I guess that contributed to it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. My daughter, she's now 18 and in college, but back then I was broke, 6 figures in law school loans and no idea how I was going to make that all work, So you just tackle the day. You set micro goals, you see what you can accomplish today, you identify a target, you go for it, you hit it, and wake up and you do the same thing again tomorrow, and you keep doing that day in and day out, and eventually you get to the top of the mountain.
Would you recommend folks to start in the payroll business? I think it's the first time I hear about a founder in that sphere.
No. It's not an exciting business for sure. Can you make some money doing it? Yeah, but today it's all technology. I mean, this was back in 2007. So this is back when HR files were all done by paper. Everyone filled out paper applications and, it was a different world. So today with AI, with technology, with SaaS systems and how, apps, it's just a different it's a different climate. It's a different macro environment. So I think if I had to start over, I wouldn't start a payroll company, but I could probably start a consulting service around that to help them think through the technology and how to implement the technology and how to utilize AI and how to utilize the different bolt-on services that are available. So I think it's just attacking the problem differently.
Right. And then you began A/B testing a bunch of startups, connecting startups and capital with JC,
Yep.
J Capital, founder at Recreate, pairing entrepreneurs again with the resources they need to create a company. So probably an LLC, the accountants, blah, blah, blah. Recruit and company, and then JFan Holdings. So you A/B tested a bunch of businesses. Which out of those ended up being the best product market fit?
Well, they were all different, right? I'm a serial entrepreneur. So when I see an opportunity, I start a company and I go solve a problem. J Capital, I was solving a problem because a lot of my peers saw my success in the payroll business, and I was in the entrepreneurship community, and they were struggling to get capital. This was 2010. So this was right during the height of the financial crisis, the Great Recession. Money was tight, hard to get. And so I had a lot of relationships with private equity, VCs, family offices. So for me, that was just an opportunity to help serve the entrepreneurship community. JFN Holdings was a digital marketing agency that I partnered with Neil Patel on, and we helped a lot of companies fast forward their transition from offline to online, 2011 to 2015, as in social media was becoming more prevalent and technology focused employees were coming into the workforce, because you still had these legacy employers, these owners of companies that had been owners for 20, 30 years and never utilized the internet properly. So they were using the internet for email. They were sending a catalog, but they didn't really understand e-commerce. They didn't really understand CRO and conversion rate optimization and how best to utilize their website to drive traffic to a specific target. And they didn't understand how to build funnels and build lists and create community. And they didn't understand SEO, and they didn't understand PPC. And so there was a great opportunity during that time period to help the transition. And so again, see an opportunity, capitalize. And then in 2015, that transition was done. So at that point, it was no longer the best business to have and put my effort into. I think people get stuck doing the same thing forever. And they think that, oh, this is what I do. I'm a digital marketer, so I need to do that forever. Well, if the opportunity is gone, how best to utilize your time to make more money and have a bigger impact? And so I transitioned from businesses to businesses as the market flows and as I read the tea leaves and feel like, hey, is the opportunity still there or is it gone? And did I maximize what I can do here? And is it twice as hard to get the same amount tomorrow? Then there's no reason to continue to do it. It's time to refocus and have a new strategy or a new plan. And so, all my companies, some of them were really successful and I made millions of dollars. Some of them weren't successful and I lost hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. And that's just the nature of the business. If you're in business world, you're going to try things. Some of them are going to work. Some of them aren't. My biggest companies, obviously my digital marketing agency and my payroll business had great exits. So obviously out of the ones you just named, I think those are my best. But Everbowl and WeBuild, what I'm doing today, they're massively bigger than anything I've ever done in the past. And so, now we're playing in the 9-figure space, and I want to get to $1 billion enterprise value for Everbowl and become international. And so that's kind of the goal and the target. And then WeBuild is a brand focused procurement, manufacturer, installer, construction division that works with high growth brands. And so, that's evergreen. And I think we can really grow that into a very meaningful and sizable enterprise.
I think you'll get to $1 billion. That's 1. 2. How did that first exit feel?
Felt great.
Relieving.
Yeah. I got to pay off a mortgage on the house that I had. I got to put a college fund away for my kid. As a parent and as a provider for my family, it was that moment of like the big hunt. I achieved it. You're standing there and you realize like, hey, but like all things, and this is just my nature, you wake up the next day and you say, what's next? Because it's not the enjoyment at when you hit the pinnacle or you hit the goal is short-lived, right? It's fleeting. It's quick. It lasted for 6. Like all my friends are like, well, what did you do the next day? It's like, I started something else. I mean, it's time to get back to it,
Right. And it's not that we're like broken on us entrepreneurs, just that we know that if we don't invest today, we're going to eat it up in 3 to 6 months down the line. So it's like the nature of cycles. And I think it's Les Brown that says, you gotta be hungry or something like that. Right. So you need to be hungry and you need to derive pleasure from the execution and, climbing the actual mountain. And I have lots of fun doing that also.
I mean, you're a runner, right? And so it's like, you're running to a certain destination, but the enjoyment has got to be in the process. It has to be in the run itself. And so if you're starting a company just for an exit because you want to get rich, I can save you a lot of time. You're not going to make it because you're going to lose to the guys and the girls that are out there who are loving the daily grind, the process, the ebbs, the flows, the ups, the downs, the learnings, the setbacks, the unknown, the uncertainty, the anxiety, the late nights, the early mornings, like that whole adventure. Although sometimes you hate the moment because you're like, oh my gosh, I wish. And you think about the future. When you finally get there, you realize, no. Actually, why you got there is because you enjoyed that process, the daily pursuit of your potential and the company's potential. And so when you don't have that anymore and you wake up the next day and you go, I don't have a company anymore and I have nothing to drive me today and I have no goals today and I have money, but that's fine. I'm money's great. If you don't have it, you need it, but it doesn't define you. It doesn't make you who you are. It doesn't give you the quality of life that you want. So you stake another flag in the ground and say, okay, I finished that mountain. Now I'm going to go after that one.
Yeah,
Do it
the
again.
gains, the 1% gains are so fun, and I believe in enlightenment through entrepreneurship. You just get better every day in all facets of your life through dealing with other humans, through trade. Capitalism is this wonderful invention, and we forget that it's technology, but it brings us to very exciting places. And today in my run, I had a very nice run. It was quite intense, and it's weird because I could enjoy the suffering to date. I could really be conscious that, I was short of breath. And even right now, I'm trying to get my diaphragm up because it was quite intense towards the end. But I know that my thinking at that moment when I was short of breath and, I was fucking intense under the sun sprinting, it was like, yeah, gains. I'm going to get gains out of that. So plus my dogs are running with me. They're having fun. It's like, yeah, it's positive. One last comment on that. Some people, they evaluate their day to day, oh, today I had a bad day. Oh, today I had a good day. Well, that's bullshit. Try to evaluate your life for listeners, at least weekly or monthly or yearly, because you'll see that, it's a net positive at the end. But a lot of people, they're like, today was shitty. And yeah, that's just like part of the game. Do you agree with that?
I do. I'm doing a fitness challenge with a buddy right now, and it's no days off. So we have a minimum, we have to wear a sensor so we can each see each other. And there's a certain it's a minimum of 20 minutes of a cumulative heart rate above 80% of your max cumulative. So it could take you 23 minutes, 28 minutes, could take you an hour. You can work out as long as you want, but a minimum of 20. And today's day 157. And so for 156 days up until today, because I haven't worked out yet today, I have not had a day off. I've done a minimum of 20 minutes of cumulative heart rate above 80% of my max. And there's stretches in there where you don't feel like it. But what's been incredible, because working out is it's easier to see the comparison to the real world. But people ask me all the time, like, how could you help me if I'm not successful become successful? And the answer I give everyone is, you have to remove the want to from the equation. People do a lot when they want to. I work out great when I feel like it and I want to. I do my emails and I do my work when I want to, but today I don't feel like it, so I don't. When you realize that success is on the other side of want to, when you remove the fact that you need to want to or feel like it to do something, and you do it anyway, and you train yourself to do it anyway, all of a sudden the results compound. And to your point, every day is a positive day. No matter how bad the day is, I woke up today, I got to breathe today, I got to see my kids today. It was a great day. Yeah, some days are better than others. And if you do evaluate your day too small, like, oh, this hour sucked. Well, yeah, you know what? It does suck. And sometimes those 28 minutes when I have to get that workout in, one of the hardest ones was I was traveling and I landed at 6 o'clock San Diego time, went out to dinner with my wife and another couple. We went for sushi and there's a lot of sake involved. And I got home at 10:45 and I had to get this workout in, and I was full on sushi and sake. I didn't want to. And I'm starting to run, and to get to 80% of my max, I have to put in effort. Like, this is not a stroll. You're putting in effort, and I'm tasting sushi and I'm about to puke and I feel like throwing up. And it was just horrific. But and my wife said, you're crazy. And I'm like, just bring a trash can next to this treadmill because I may need it. But when I finished, I felt better, like internally, because I accomplished something. To me, that mountain in that moment, that was a shitty 28 minutes. But at the end, it was like, oh my gosh, like if I can do this after that, what's going to stop me now?
And that's disgusting. I have the image because I also did similar stuff. The worst is when you eat fast food, these are disgusting. And yeah, at this point, it's just like, let it out. I had a huge insight while listening to you, the first part, which was that we have our genetic baseline, we have our environmental baseline, and what you're saying and the download that I had is, who gives a shit about that? Just compare yourself to the best scoreboards out there, and naturally you will elevate your gene, and eventually you'll sort of weed out of your own environment. And I think that's beautiful, because a bunch of people, they're like, oh, my upbringing, my genes, but just look at the best scoreboards out there, compete in national leagues, and you'll freaking change your full epigenetics, and you'll start you'll stop the generational mediocrity. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can see the two jerseys for those who are watching this behind me. There's a reason they're up there, because in basketball, those are Kobe Bryant. So I'm looking backwards on my head. He maximized his potential. There's no one who ever worked harder at their craft to be the absolute best at what they did.
Mamba.
Yes, and he was the greatest of all time. And he was chasing him, to your point. He worked every day because he was trying to beat that guy. And so I think it's important that you set audacious goals and stop with the limiting beliefs and stop realizing, like, yeah, you know what? I'm 5'9", but you put me on a sports field, I play bigger than 5'9" because I bring everything I've got. And if I played around a bunch of 4'8" people and I was the tallest, I probably wouldn't have, right? Because a rising tide lifts all boats, and you want to go after. It's like the 4-minute mile. It couldn't be done until the first person did it. And once the first person did it, hundreds and thousands after have done it, because now we believe we can. So you got to get to the point where you believe you can. And when you look at other people, if someone else alive, human being, can do it, so can you. It might be harder for you than them, but that doesn't matter. Life's not meant to be fair. There's no fairness involved. It's just a matter of how bad do you want it. And if you want it, go get it. Nothing stops you but you. So I compete with myself every day. I set a micro goal every day. I use the concept of Kaizen to get 1% better every day. And I say, hey, I'm going to get a little bit better at my speaking today. I'm doing a podcast with Charles. I'm going to be a little bit better and provide 1% more value than I did the last time I did a podcast. I'm going to write some emails today. I'm going to make sure I do 1% better communication or better sales if it's in a sales format. I'm going to be with my team today. I'm going to be a better parent today. I'm going to be a better with my fitness and nutrition today. I'm going to take 1% better of effort in my workout, or whatever it is. You can apply this to everything and take control of your own success. And that's the critical component. And so I think people need to get forward thinking and say, okay, today's the day that I'm going to change my life. And it's going to start with 1% growth today.
Very good. Love this. And these legends behind you, they had these obstacles, they obviously grew up in the hood. They had naysayers, Jordan had very supportive parents. I didn't study Brian that much, but I mean, the challenges that these guys face, obstacles are part of the game. And the mental model there is that when you jump these obstacles, the human body, it just adapts, it grows muscle day after day. So again, if I look at this podcast, sometimes it sucks. If I look at it on a daily basis, right now, this interview is good. And if I look at the very long term, I'm going to see growth over as a pattern. So be patient and assume that there will be obstacles. Now, coming back to your companies, because we've got 8 minutes left, Super Fuel Coffee. I mean, I want to have my own coffee brand. I'm in Oaxaca, Mexico, and the coffee here is just epic. You had also Everbowl, which you plan to grow into $1 billion company. How did these came about, and why did you get in the food business?
Well, when I sold my digital marketing company, I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself, because I was driving my wife and kids crazy. And outside of business, my biggest passion is health and wellness. And so I believe that through our food and movement, we can be the best version of ourselves. And in America, where I live, obesity is epidemic, heart disease, stroke, cancer, diabetes, hypertension. You look at all these conditions, and the science shows 80% of them are preventable or delayable with lifestyle change, how you move your body and what you eat. And so I realized that the average American eats fast food 3.2 times a week. And so Everbowl could solve that problem. I could provide healthy food that's affordable, filling, delicious, and accessible to more Americans every single day, and help them be a better version of themselves. And in that same vein, when you eat real good food, quality nutrition, you feel better. When you feel better, you're more likely to work out. When you work out, you feel better. When you feel better, you're more likely to be a better parent, a better performer in whatever sport or craft that you do, a better at your business, better with your friends. When you feel lousy because you eat fast food and you aren't working out and it hurts to get up and it hurts to move, you end up sitting on the couch and watching Netflix all day and wishing your life was better. So how are we going to change your life? We're going to change your life by what we eat every day and how we move our body. And so that's why I started with Everbowl. Was never wanting to be in food. I know nothing about restaurants, but we have 450 Everbowls around the country. I didn't need to know how to do restaurants. That's the beauty. I think experience is the most overrated prerequisite to start a company or be successful. You start because you start. And then I get 1% better every day. I learn. There's Google, there's YouTube, there's human beings that I can reach out to. I can hire talented, smart people, but I can go after my target. My target was provide healthy food that's affordable, filling, delicious, and accessible to every American in the country, and then internationally. So one day, hopefully we're in Mexico. Hopefully we're in Canada. Hopefully we expand to Europe. But again, I started small. Affordable, filling, delicious, and accessible. That's it. And I can figure out what food to sell and how to sell it and how to build the SOPs and how to do all that as we go.
Yesterday, I spoke with a guy that brought the concept of 15 minutes haircut to Northern Europe, scaled it had an exit of like 50 million, something like that. So he brought that concept from Japan and he brought scale to it, right? So at 150 locations, how can you scale the restaurant business? How can you come up with a better algorithm than what has been historically out there and in one of the most competitive field there is?
Few ways. So I utilize vertical integration. So I went down to Brazil and I have my own import company. So I import my own superfood. So I control the supply chain. We build my construction company. We build all the Everbowls around the world. So I can control my costs. I can build them faster. So I've already solved two of the biggest problems for restaurants. Food costs, I control. Construction costs, CapEx upfront, I control. So through those two elements, I now have two other businesses that work really well. One of them is direct to consumer now with my import company. We're on QVC and we sell. And the other one's construction and I build for Shaquille O'Neal and Drew Brees and celebrities and athletes and all their concepts now. That spun off of our main thing, which is the idea that you want to scale, you need to look at vertical integration. You need to really understand what are your two, three, four, five biggest pain points that are preventing you from scale and how can you solve those? So instead of focusing on, oh, I need to alter my menu, it's like, no, I need to control my supply chain of food so I can control the cost. If I can control the cost, I make more money, my margins are better. And then the biggest risk with restaurants is location, 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 and it costs a lot of money up front. So how do I de-risk it? I bring down the cost to build. And so since I own the construction company, it costs me less to build than it would have if I went to and hired a construction company. So I controlled those two variables and that allowed me to scale very quickly. And so in we're 7 years old now. October 15th was our seventh year. You know, we're opening 3 stores this week. And that's just kind of has allowed us to scale nationwide.
Very impressive. Do you raise any capital to open these up?
Well, I self-funded the first 14 and then I started to raise capital. Last year, we sold 30% of the company and it was a nice valuation. So me and my shareholders, we all made a lot of money, which is good. And the next one is going to be that $1 billion exit price.
So let's say that
you heard it on this show.
Yeah, there you go. No, I know you'll get there. You're super impressive. The valuation, let's say around 250 million, the last one.
No, I wish. It was more around that 50, 60 million.
Okay. Still good. Okay. And still good liquidity event for everyone, you know. How do you celebrate these, by the way?
Not how most people would think.
Healthy food, barbecue.
No, I send out the checks to my investors. I send a nice little email. I go home. I give my wife and daughters a kiss, and then I get back to work.
And how do you chill? You know, do you have an activity that has you, chill? Like, I mean, sport, most probably.
Tennis. I love tennis. I play tennis 2-3 times a week. I work out 7 days a week, as we just went over. So I play tennis 2-3 days a week, and I usually run 2-3 days a week, and I bike 1 day a week just to give the legs a little break.
What about super fuel? How can you scale that one? I really like the concept. It's like a super coffee.
Yeah, I mean it's available on Amazon. We sold it on QVC. Basically we infused acai with our coffee. So it's the world's first acai-infused coffee product. You drink coffee every day. You don't always eat superfoods, so drink superfoods with your cup. And I love coffee, so it was great because now I get more acai. I get more of the superfoods, and I'm 40 years old, so I'm trying to fight aging. It's a disease. I'm trying to stay young as long as I can. Be the best version of myself, and I think through good nutrition, through coffee, through superfoods, we're going to get there. So I'm more mission driven. I think a lot of the barriers to success for a lot of people is they're looking at results. I don't care about the results. I care about the process and what am I doing to get there, and the results just come. So I make a lot of money because I'm doing cool things, and I'm doing cool things because I'm trying to solve big problems, right? I'm trying to have impact. If I can help more Americans be a better version of themselves, that's the impact. And through that, yeah, you can make a lot of money.
Well, I think so far you're successful from your looks in the fighting of aging. It's my big fight as well. I mean, I'm still young, right? But I'm tackling longevity. My next biotech will be a ChatGPT in which you can upload some of your data and chat with it, and it can give you insights on your health. Would you partner with me on that one?
I would. Yeah. I mean, I study longevity. It's my biggest thing I do personally. I know a lot of the big players from, Dr. David Sinclair, who's the leading longevity expert at Harvard. I do a lot with understanding my own genome, and I have gotten all the tests done, and I test myself regularly. Currently I'm 40 in biological age, but my insides are telling me I'm 36 and a half based on my
Nice.
markers right now. So I'm working to get that lower, which is good. I want to be in my 20s, but I'm not.
For a
And
busy entrepreneur, it's really good. Let's call it that way.
yeah, it's the fight. It's the fight of, it's the one that impacts us all. I don't care how wealthy you are, we're all aging. And if we can reverse it and have more years of quality life and be a better version of ourselves longer, think about the bigger impact we can have and the more memories we can make.
Yeah, Sinclair is pretty good. For the audience, Outlive by Peter Attia, that was a good one
Outlive.
too.
Yep.
Boundless, Ben Greenfield. Yeah.
He just came out with that book, Outlive.
Yeah, both this trio I'm gonna have on my Longevity Wisdom podcast. Thank you so much, Jeff, for today. Where can people find out more about you?
At Fenster Jeff on Instagram, jefffenster.com. You can check out the Jeff Fenster Show on any of the platforms, YouTube or entrepreneur.com. If you go to Entrepreneur, it's a show with them. And I love connecting. You can also get my book, Relationship Bank Account, on Amazon. And make sure you say what's up.
With Charles Cormier as your host, CEO of wisdompodcast.com, and that was Jeff Fenster.